Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kipperspective podcast, the best SEC podcast on the internet. I don't know how many SEC podcasts there are, but this one is certainly the best. Today on the show, a little bit different. Alec Etheridge joins me. That's not different. I'm here, Clayt Kiefer. But sitting to my right is nobody. Kip Kiefer absent from the show today. Except not, because he is joining us via Skype. We just went through the setup here, so hopefully it doesn't sound terrible. It should sound good. Sounds good to us, so hopefully it'll sound good after everything's done. Kip, where are you, and what the hell are you doing away from down south?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a secret mission, but before I answer that question, I keep having flashbacks to the classic movie Wayne's World, where they're standing in front of a green screen, and all of a sudden, by mistake, an image from Delaware pops up, and Garth says, "We're in Delaware." Okay, so that's where I am. I'm in Dover, Delaware. I've been traveling up here in the Northeast and visited a racetrack and casino for my own entertainment and informative edification, and getting ready to head back tomorrow, but was tardy, missing the podcast, so through the miracle of telecommunications, you've got me on board anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately we didn't get you equipped for some Kip on the street, because that would have been pretty hilarious to ask people in Delaware some SEC football questions. But oh well, anyway.
Because they have football betting here at this casino. It's one of the reasons we wanted to come see what their setup was like.
Oh, that's interesting.
It actually is state run through the Delaware lottery, so it's pretty interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of people that have no idea. It's funny to stand up by the counter and listen to the football questions people ask, because they have no clue how parlays and teasers work, and the poor tellers here have to explain it to people that have just no idea what they're doing. So it's been rather amusing the last couple of days.
Well, that's good to know. Hopefully, then I guess you guys that are listening to this podcast, when we do our picks, you might actually hear some actual Kip bets. Are you doing any college football betting?
No, just stuck to horses. Had some success yesterday, and probably should have change my flight and come home, because you always stay one day too many. But anyway, I've had a lot of downtime at night, and just kind of relaxing, and actually went to Gettysburg for the first time and toured the Civil War battlefield all weekend, and that was a fantastic experience. So it's been great, but ready to get back home. But glad I can still participate on the podcast despite my unexcused absence.
Well, we're certainly glad too, because I don't want to have the host duties for too long. So why don't you go ahead and take over and get us into the show? We'll stop interviewing like you're some special guest. Not that you're not special, but
yeah,
you're kind of a regular. So
let's hear from our third member of our team, Alec Etheridge. Alec, it's fall break up at Alabama, and that also applies for the football team. Let's start the discussion by talking about what happened the previous weekend. I just had that nagging feeling that the Big Orange was going to come to town and really play their best game, and I thought they did. But at gut check time, Alabama was able to come through and keep the train rolling.
Yeah, first off, I'll say that I'm not quite sure that we want to welcome you back to Birmingham and on the podcast, because you have completely dominated us these last 2 to 3 weeks in picks, so you probably should be making some football bets while you're up there, because I think you have come back and officially taken the lead now in the pick'em, so not too happy about that right now.
Well, but I have to say, though, my radio picks, my 5-star last week, though, was Miami plus 7.5 against Clemson, so I should lose my license from now and evermore.
Yeah. That was not a good job. That was almost as bad as a Mizzou pick.
Oh, I know. I've had 2 real stinkers this year, but thank you for recognizing my improved prognosticating. That just paves the way for what probably will be a disastrous week, but we'll get to that later. Tell me about what you guys were thinking during the Alabama game, because I kept having flashbacks of you guys in the stands biting your fingers to the nub because the Volunteers gave the Tide a real scare.
Well, I'll say that Clayton was very happy because he got his barbecue nacho right before the game started.
Thank goodness.
And he was like, Kip was right. This really did improve my mood. But the play on the field, however, not so much. That was a pretty ugly game on both sides, in my opinion. I think that mainly Alabama, they still did a lot of what they've been doing the last few weeks. They ran the ball a lot. But coming into the game, you had to expect that, especially on third down, Tennessee's going to try to run the ball with Dobbs or give it off to one of their running backs for a little short pass or something like that. And it didn't seem like Alabama was prepared for it at all. And with one of the best defenses in the country, I was extremely shocked by that because they just kept letting Dobbs and Kamara and Hurd do what they wanted to. And that's a little bit nerve-wracking for Alabama fans when you got LSU coming to town in a few weeks and all they're going to do is run the ball. So I'm not quite sure how I feel about Alabama after the weekend, but I was pretty impressed with Tennessee and how hard they fought and the way they looked on Saturday. And Alabama, I mean, it could have been like a little bit of a trap game, but they just didn't look very good in my opinion.
Clayton, did you? I'm sure you don't like close home games. So, what were your thoughts going forward, watching that ball game? And you still had to be. When Tennessee took the lead in the fourth quarter and Alabama just came right down the field, had the unbelievable catch, and then Henry, the rest of the drive, just unstoppable. You still had to be proud that they were able to, at gut check time, find a way to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, a win's a win, so that's good and all, but it was I don't know, it was pretty big poop.
Nice choice of words.
Tell us how you really feel.
I don't know. What I'm really happy about, and yeah, Alabama scored when they had to, so that's good. I wish they could have done that maybe some other point in the game. It's a weird thing about football how, teams seem to score when they have to, as long as there's not like 30 seconds left. Even then they do a lot of times. I don't know. It's weird, but the thing I was happy about is that the last drive ended in a turnover, which Alabama had 3 interceptions that were dropped.
Yep.
So it was about time that somebody got the stupid turnover belt, and it came at a clutch time. So yeah, I mean, it was a tough game. So whatever. I mean, is the fact that Alabama came out with a win's good. I came out with a loss, and so did Alec from picking Alabama, of course. So that's not good, but. All in all, it's okay, and now it's behind us, so that's all that matters. Tennessee still has not beaten Alabama since the iPhone came out, so the iPhone 6S is not Tennessee's lucky iPhone.
Well, yeah, that was another thing that Clayton mentioned was the turnovers. The turnovers they were getting against Texas A&M and Georgia and Arkansas the past few weeks, they weren't able to contribute and get those turnovers on Saturday against Tennessee. They dropped, I think, around 3 interceptions, and if they get those, this is a different game, and Alabama probably ends up running away with it, and it's a different story. Me and Clayton are a little bit happier this week, but overall, I mean, it was a gut check. They had to battle to win that game. They were down in the fourth quarter. So I think they needed that to happen, but the performance has got to improve if they're going to beat LSU at home, because I think that's another big thing is they struggle at home.
Yeah, pretty tough 4-game stretch there. Going to Georgia, playing a physical Arkansas team at home, going to Texas A&M, and come back and playing Tennessee. The bye week probably could not have come at a better time for Nick Saban's team.
There's no doubt. I read an interesting thing about how somebody asked him at the press conference at the beginning of the week. Something like, are the guys tired? They've played 7 in a row. Are you worried about fatigue being a factor? And he said, we have, GPS trackers or whatever that are strapped to the players, and they're running the same speed that they were running before the season even started. So no, I don't think fatigue is a factor. And then after the game, someone asked him a similar question, or asked him some other question. He was like, well, we played a whole bunch of games in a row, so I think we did look slow out there. And there were some times where we should have been faster, but I think it might have been that we were tired. So that was some pretty cheese answers, but I think it's no doubt it's really thank God there's a bye week this week. I mean, if LSU was coming in this week, I don't think we'd been able to compete.
I'd like to sometime ask a local person that covers either in the newspaper or the television media or even some of the radio folks. It seems to me like Saban is just Mr. Positivity and sunshine and butterflies when it's an ESPN commentator asking him a question. Every time you see one of those sideline girls grab him, or if he's in the ESPN trailer, he's always, very gracious and low key with his answers. And he seems like he's just a total ass to local reporters. Do you guys think that impression is fair?
I mean, I agree with it 100%. That's being in Tuscaloosa all the time. I mean, you see the tweets and all the questions. I mean, some people ask him stupid questions, and that's their own fault. But, I mean, of course, he wants to be perceived more by the national media as being a good guy that's always there for his players and all this stuff, and that loves the media, especially since he's probably going to end up working at ESPN. But, I mean, every week at a press conference, he's ripping some new reporter. And so they don't like him too much, but I guess they're doing their job and trying to ask hard questions that he'll answer. But I think sometimes they just try to get a rise out of him.
I wish somebody would have the gonads sometime, in one of those weekly press conferences when he's always in a bad mood to say, "Hey, Coach, when's the last time you bit a hunk out of Kaylee Hartung's ass?" I mean,
He'd probably be all for that if I had to guess.
You hit it right on the head. I think he's already got his eyes on working for ESPN, and he's just kissing their rear end while he devours everybody else's. So, but yeah, that just came to mind when you were talking about that. So the bye week, we'll talk, of course, at length on the LSU game next week. We even have 2 programs scheduled. And LSU, of course, doing what they had to do to keep the Titanic matchup in line by getting by Western Kentucky. Not a whole lot notable, I guess, in that game. Let's shift gears and talk about maybe the game of the year in college football in terms of the drama of overtime. The poor Auburn Tigers up in Fayetteville keep hanging in heroically, came back, tied the game, but drop it in 4 overtimes. I know you guys were crushed and really felt bad for your War Eagle brethren.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't really get to watch this game, but no, definitely not sorry. I know that McFeeters was pretty upset about it, but
ouch.
You know what? That sucks to suck. That's just what it is. I think they actually played better than I was expecting. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, at least Alabama hasn't had a 4 overtime game yet, so they're not quite as tired as Auburn or Arkansas will be.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. That's 4 overtimes. That's pretty amazing. But I'm kind of glad that they ended up losing, because if they would have ended up pulling that out, it would have had to been put on next year's Auburn Cheese segment.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think the crazy thing is that they were able to. Each team was just going pound for pound right at each other, and whether it came to 2-point conversions or whatever, they were just going back and forth, and neither team could just do that one extra thing until finally Arkansas did. But that was a crazy game. You don't see more than 1 or 2 overtimes very often, and to see a 4 overtime game is pretty impressive.
Well, apparently too, from the being on the Red Zone podcast last night. Chip Lake, of course, an Auburn graduate, talks a lot about the game, and he said that the Auburn receivers just could not catch the ball. Said there were 7 just really bad drops, including, I guess, the last play of the game was a 4th and 3, and it was a ball that, according to him, should have been caught. I didn't get to see the game either. It's really the first football Saturday or NFL Sunday, and I did catch most of the NFL Sunday, but that football Saturday I was absent without leave until the second half of the Alabama game. So I did get on board late afternoon, but I missed the early games. And Chip Lake also lamented last night that, Auburn officially sucks because every week they play at 11 o'clock now. So.
They're playing 11 o'clock this week.
That's right, against Ole Miss.
But you're right though. I was watching. I didn't watch much of the game, but I did watch the whole first quarter. And Auburn's first couple of drives, Duke Williams, it was probably the best Sean White had looked since he'd started at quarterback. And Duke Williams was dropping passes right in his hands, and it was bad. You thought that Reggie Davis's was bad a couple weeks ago. These were right there, and he dropped more than 1 or 2.
Wait, was he not the dude that got kicked off the team?
There's Duke Williams and Duke Johnson in there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Williams the one who got kicked off. Johnson's the one they still have.
Yeah, Duke
Johnson. Duke Johnson, like the Cleveland running back?
Yeah. I think there's.
They have a Duke. I have no idea. Look, I've got no idea. I just know that
I'm not 100% either.
It's weird. I always have made that mistake, but I always thought I was just an idiot thinking of Duke Johnson.
I always get Duke Williams and Ricardo Lewis confused. Both of them had cheese stuff against teams a couple of years ago.
That's for sure.
We won't mention. So that's why I keep getting them confused. But yeah, it was Ricardo Lewis that kept dropping the passes.
Yeah, Ricardo Lewis of the prayer at Jordan Hare fame.
Yeah, that guy, the one that caught the miracle pass but can't catch one that's right in his hand.
No, yeah, we know who Duke Williams or what Duke Williams is doing.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we do.
Smoke weed every day.
Well, see, that's why I brought it up. I just wanted you to play the great drop.
I don't even know how loud that was because our levels are all over the place. With
it sounded fine in Delaware. So, and there's plenty of that going on.
That's what I was about to say.
Well, yeah. So. Yeah,
this is an interesting place. Let's there isn't a whole lot of other really notable SEC news. There were buys and such last week, but we have to spend a minute talking about our favorite team. What about that Missouri juggernaut on offense? 3 weeks ago, they scored 3 points at home against Florida. They exploded in Athens 2 weeks ago and put up 6. And this week in Nashville, they followed that up with 3. Is this not the worst offensive team and just a total embarrassment to college football that has ever been seen?
I mean, they are so bad, and I didn't get to watch most of the game, not that I wanted to, but I did watch the very end, and Vanderbilt really tried to give it away. Drew Lock or whatever ran for, he scrambled for like 40 yards, with like 1 minute left on the clock, and then on fourth and forever, Vanderbilt with pass interference gave them another chance, but Missouri's offense, their fantastic offense, still couldn't put the ball in the end zone after all that Vanderbilt had given them. So yeah, that was quite a performance by Missouri.
Well, Drew Lock puts to shame the 50% passer at best. My goodness. 14 of 34, a 40% passer? Are you kidding me? Is that even legal in the SEC? That's an embarrassment. How is this guy starting for an SEC football team if he's only completed 14 passes out of 34?
I know why. It's because Matty Mock is
smoke weed every day.
What did Matty Mock do? This is the longest suspension of all time. He must be a serial killer, and they're just not telling.
I mean, nobody. I'm just so confused because at least he gives them a fighting chance. They probably would have won the game.
Oh well, hey, too bad we don't have a breaking news drop. Breaking news: ESPN reports 1 day ago, Missouri reinstates quarterback Matty Mock.
Yeah, that came from a coach's meeting going, Drew Lock actually sucks. We need to get Matty Mock back.
Yeah, so Matty Mock
suspend him for
not smoking weed every day anymore, apparently.
Goodness gracious.
He's sober for a week, guys.
And the sad thing is, obviously the Missouri defense is pretty damn good. And I mean, imagine being a Missouri defender and busting your ass and holding teams to under 20 points, and you're taking a butt whooping every week.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Even though maybe they should start getting some more pick sixes if they want to win.
I guess so, because, boy, that's got to be discouraging. But that's enough on that. The only other big game in the SEC last week, and this one I was totally wrong on.
Ugh.
I thought Texas A&M would control Ole Miss in that game a little bit with the strength of their team being their pass rush. But Texas A&M is now totally revealed. They are the same team that they were last year. They can roll over the Lamars and the Rices and the Sam Houston States. But when it comes to prime time, Kevin Sumlin can collect his $5.5 million and continue to recruit because that wasn't a very good performance in Oxford against an Ole Miss team that really came in, with pretty shattered confidence, and that game was never really in doubt.
Man, it's like these quarterbacks are just listening to this podcast every week because they're just trying to make the 50% passer thing go away and change it down to even below 40%. Kyle Allen, 12 of 34, 35% for that game. I mean,
awful.
That's 50% passer at best.
Look how Memphis lit that same secondary up the week before. I mean, that's
exactly.
Tigers for Final Four.
I mean, I know that Ole Miss had a lot of players back for this game that had been injured or suspended or whatever, but Texas A&M just laid an egg. They looked terrible. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't throw the ball. And I mean, I know Alabama. I thought Alabama was good, and that was a reason that Texas A&M didn't look good a couple weeks ago. But boy, they're not very good, and I'm a little bit worried about them against South Carolina now.
Yeah, that's the first time they left Texas all year, and it did not go well.
And you can't even really say that Ole Miss played great either. So that's what makes it even worse for Texas A&M. I mean, Chad Kelly didn't have a great game. He threw 3 picks. So, I don't know. That was a bad performance, I think, by both teams. So this doesn't really make me think Ole Miss is that great either, and we'll see how they do against Auburn this Saturday. So, but I don't think either one of these teams is that great, and Texas A&M a little bit worse.
Well, 2 of the unbeaten teams in the country went down last week as Utah was beaten up at USC. And, of course, the other undefeated team to lose was the second week in a row that a bizarre kick 6 results at the end. The Tech and Florida State game. Did you guys get a chance to see that wild finish?
I literally watched the last probably like 2 minutes of that game, and then I texted Clayt right as it ended. But that was absolutely crazy. I mean, it's just amazing the crazy things that are happening in college football nowadays. But as an Alabama person, you're excited for that. Any team that's undefeated, you need to lose. But you got it as being at the kick 6 a few years ago. You got to feel bad for the Seminoles.
And Clayt, Bowling Green report for the week.
Oh, Bowling Green.
He was very pleased.
Yeah, another fantastic performance. Bowling Green's defense, again, showing that maybe they, obviously they're playing, I forgot who they played. Somebody awful, obviously, but
Kent State.
That's right, and I'm pretty sure it was they held them to nothing. So I think it was like 49-0 or something. So Bowling Green looking good. Toledo struggling with UMass, even though then ends up blowing them out. Bowling Green did not struggle with UMass. So just another week of the same thing. The Bowling Green-Toledo game looks like it's going to be a monumental, some monumental maction. To put it in a way, and then, like I said, it's most likely going to be Bowling Green and Toledo again for the MAC championship. So we might have 3 weeks. We might have 2 Bowling Green Toledo matchups, which is amazing.
And on a Tuesday night, is this a great country or what?
Absolutely fantastic. I don't know when they kick off, but hopefully it's either it's later than 6 or I'm skipping my last class of the day.
It's to be announced right now. They have not announced it. It's such a big game that they have not announced a kickoff time.
I think they usually do night. It's usually Tuesday nights, right?
Yes, Tuesday night, November 17th.
Should be 7:30 Eastern.
Good. That means I'll be out of class, ready to watch. I will be so ready for that game.
We're gonna
preview, of course, all the games this week, and in the SEC with Alabama and LSU a week away, the cocktail party in Jacksonville takes on the appearance of maybe the game to decide the SEC East. Kind of hard to believe that Georgia's still standing in position to perhaps get a share or claim the crown in the East after those 2 disastrous weeks against Alabama and Tennessee. We'll talk about our picks, but just in general, were you guys surprised to see the line from Las Vegas on this game's only 2.5 points?
Maybe a little bit. My dad was texting me earlier about this, and this is going to be a tough game to pick because Florida's not going to be a very high-scoring team right now, I don't think. And with Georgia's struggles on offense, I think that it's going to be a close game. I don't see either one of these teams really running away with it. So I do think it's going to be a close game, and I lean towards Florida right now. So I think the line's about right, to be honest with you.
Clay, were you surprised Florida wasn't a bigger favorite?
I'm a little bit surprised, but then again, I think I've been saying this when I thought Florida was bad and Georgia was good. Now it's kind of the other way around. I mean, this game, it's rarely a blowout. It's a huge rivalry. It's a huge game in a quote-unquote neutral site, even if it's not really neutral. But, I think it doesn't matter how good either team is. I don't think the line should ever be that high. So, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, but at the same time, when I get right down to it, it's almost every year it's probably like this.
Well, before we get into picks, let's go ahead and review for our listeners what our plans are for next week. We've got a couple of
big announcements,
interesting ideas. So why don't you guys fill in our listeners on the treat they're in for on Alabama LSU Day?
Okay, so next week we kind of talked about this, I think, last week. I think Alec may have mentioned it, and we kind of just stopped talking about it right when he mentioned it. But So we're going to do a standard normal podcast just like every week. We're going to do it on Wednesday. But we are then going to go on the road. We are going to move all the equipment, and we are going to go sit outside Saturday morning sometime, assuming the game is at night. Hopefully it's at night. I don't think that's been announced yet.
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
7 o'clock.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I let's see how much I keep up with the news.
Uncle Vern and Gary.
So we will be out there afternoon, and on Paul W. Bryant Drive, in case anyone's listening that wants to come around. We're going to have a fourth microphone set up for anyone that's passing by. It's going to be like an open mic podcast type thing. I don't know if I've seen anyone ever do a format like this, but we're going to sit out there for probably at least a couple hours, talk to random fans. It's going to be real chill, not really like the standard podcast of breaking stuff down, more just like, just talking, casual conversation, and then responding to what the crazy Alabama and LSU fans come up and have to say to us. Hopefully we'll get some great stuff. So it's kind of like an extended edition of Clayt on the Street, but with also featuring Alec and Kip and a bunch of random jabronis. I haven't decided exactly how formatting is going to go. We're most likely going to broadcast it live via Periscope, just because that's going to be the easiest. But then again, Periscope is a little spotty, so I don't know how great that'll be, but we'll see. Then, in case you don't want to listen to the whole thing or don't want to be on Periscope, we will be uploading the whole thing to the standard podcast website, kipkeefer.net, and it'll be on iTunes, be on YouTube, that kind of stuff. But then I will also go through and edit the 2 or so hours or however long and make it into a Clayt on the Street segment for the next week in case you don't want to sit and listen to just random conversation for 2.5 hours or whatever. I'll just take the funny bits because hopefully there's going to be a few of them and then put those together and put them in the podcast. So I don't know. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I don't usually look forward to football Saturdays, but I see this being, hilarious and really fun. So come see us. We're going to be outside the what's your apartment building?
Bryant Drive Apartments. Front lawn right there on Paul W. Bryant Drive, leading up to the stadium. Everybody walks by it, so you won't be able to miss the tent and the setup. And if you're lucky, to be determined, there might be some free food involved for the folks coming by.
Oh man, look at that! I don't know what kind of free food.
I'll definitely spring for some free beverages.
Okay, free beverages. Hey, that's probably better than food to most people.
Well, we need to have free beer for the crazy
for
LSU and
the
Alabama Jagloons that are going to come talk on the show.
So hey, there you go. If you come talk to us on the show, you get a free beer. There you go. I mean, if that's the best deal in town. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be really awesome. Gonna be a lot of fun. So even if you don't want to watch live, don't want to listen to the long thing, you're still gonna be able to hear the highlights on week 10 of the Kipperspective podcast.
Well, and Clayt hasn't been excited for a football Saturday all season long, and all the last 2 weeks since we brought this idea up, he's like, "Oh man, I really can't wait for LSU Saturday. That's gonna be a blast." So if he's excited, folks, I think you can get excited.
Well, it's going to be much better than College Game Day because we will not have Desmond Howard, and it will be better than SEC Nation because Paul Feinbaum will not be allowed on our set.
Well, let's hold on there real fast.
I mean, if he wants to come ride a mechanical bull and draw some characters over to us, I wouldn't be opposed.
If Paul Feinbaum or Desmond Howard walk by, I am absolutely asking them to be on the show. I don't give a shit what you say.
Sorry, Kip.
So
okay,
yeah.
I'll agree to that as long as neither one of them are allowed to make any picks.
Well, Paul Feinbaum would be like, we got a call, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, okay, and one final topic before we get to picks. Last night, Avery Johnson unveiled his product. You guys were at the Hoopalooza or whatever they called it at Alabama. Tell us what it looked like since our listeners were given a little taste of the preseason hype from you guys last week.
I mean, it wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. There was a lot of bad basketball.
And bad dancing.
Yeah, very bad dancing.
You guys were dancing?
Well, not quite.
No, the basketball teams were.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, but I mean, we could have probably done a better job. I mean, Clayt has won a halftime dance competition before, so.
Did he do the whip and nay-nay?
There was a little bit of whip and nay-nay involved.
Okay, good.
Kip's favorite dance.
Yeah, I'm really into that now.
But yeah, there was a 3-point shootout that was fun. There was a dunk contest that was not very good because nobody could really make a sick dunk. Retton did okay, Obasahan. But overall, just the fact that this was even set up and Avery Johnson thanked everybody, and this is Anthony Grant would have never done this to save his life. And there was a line of students around the building of Coleman Coliseum to get in and for this event, and it was very well put together and very well done. And the fans were there and excited, and hopefully they keep that excitement up for the basketball season, because we need it, and it'll be a blast to see that for an actual basketball game, because normally it's maybe like 100 students at most, and last night there was probably about 3,000 of them.
And just going back to Anthony Grant now gets fired for being awful at Alabama and is now the assistant coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That is some cheese.
That is some cheese. All right, Clay, take us through the week in the SEC. If Alec has already let the cat out of the bag that I have come from the back of the pack like a charging Roman gladiator on his chariot to stick ahead in front, apparently.
Well, we don't have to over-exaggerate it there, Kip.
Let me just start off, before we get into that, let me just say something that we've gone over so many times, but holy balls, Kentucky absolutely sucks.
Kentucky is indeed Kentucky.
I'm glad I decided to go the opposite way now. I was so set on picking them, and then you did it. Thank you for saving my day.
Kentucky, they have hung in with almost every team that they've played this year, maybe even every team except for this week. It's never been a blowout with Kentucky. They suck. Don't get me wrong. They suck. But they still at least hung in there. And so, being me, I pick Kentucky, and they get blown out.
Well, yeah, that's the good thing, though. For the first time all season, Kentucky has made Clayt the one that's bringing it up the rear this week.
I hate Kentucky so much. Holy balls. I could go off like that guy about Tennessee. I hate Kentucky. I don't like the color blue. I don't really like Wildcats.
Man, I ain't a cat, man. I don't know what you're talking about, except you got two of them in your house.
Oh, well, they're not.
What was the final score of that game? I never saw.
42-16.
Oh, I knew it was big, yeah.
So,
wow.
And I think, I don't actually have it up in front. I think Mississippi State was a pretty big favorite, too, so I went with Kentucky. Yeah, Mississippi State was an 11-point favorite, so I went with Kentucky on that. Of course, you Jagaloons went with Mississippi State, and of course it worked out.
How about them bullies?
So, yeah, Kip is now in the lead at 43-27. Alec is in second with 41-29, and I am in third. Back to our old ways on the podcast with 40-30.
What was Kip at again?
He is 2 games ahead of you.
Oh, man.
I was on fire last week.
Yeah, the only one you missed was Texas A&M.
Yeah, oh well. Yeah. Like I say, and that radio pick, that got Miami's coach fired before the fans even left the stadium. So, that was a real good pick, taking Miami plus 7.5. I got to pat myself on the back again for that one. It was only 58-0. That was pretty good.
Yeah, so I don't know. So maybe Miami might suck more than Kentucky. But
well, you're lucky this week that there's no Mizzou, or we would be catching up to you.
Yeah, well, they're going to take this bye week and completely revamp their offense.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record now and say they might score 10 points next week.
I'll take. I would take the over on that, but
I don't even know who they're playing. But
Mississippi State on Thursday night, another Thursday night cheese.
Oh, that's right. It's Mississippi State, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's at Mizzou.
Oh, okay. Wow, that'll be a thriller.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, that sucks. Okay, we have some interesting games here. I haven't even looked at the games.
Yeah, me neither.
Because Alabama doesn't play this week, so whatever. Me being homer, whatever. Anyway, I will be watching though. I'm pretty excited because it's going to be very comfortable from my living room. Oh boy, I am just so excited. I don't have to go to any games this week. So first game is oh yeah, that's right. You've already mentioned it because they are so bad that they're at every 11 o'clock game. Is Mississippi Ole Miss at Auburn, not Mississippi State. Ole
and
Miss.
I'm in the lead, so I, for the first time all year, go first.
Yes, you do.
I like
the line is Ole Miss is a 7.5-point favorite, and I think I know which way you're going, Kip.
Wow, that's gone up even since I saw the initial line. I think Gus Malzahn has his offense going in the right direction. I've said all year that I thought Auburn's defense really has some major holes, and they continue to perform pretty shoddily. But they're back home, and Ole Miss has been just abysmal on the road. The games at Florida and the one up at Memphis were terrible. Of course, somebody would say, "Are you crazy? They won in Tuscaloosa." but that
Alabama
was
sucks
probably
at home.
The biggest aberration game maybe in the last 10 years in college football. I think the Tigers put it together this week. I don't know if they end up winning the game, but I'm sure as heck not going to give up more than a touchdown on their home field. And so I'm taking Auburn plus the 7.5.
I think the key thing in this one is the 11 o'clock kickoff. Those games are always tough to get up for, especially if you're the road team. You've been traveling, you're getting up early on that Saturday morning. I think that really plays a factor. And you look at how Ole Miss struggled at Memphis a couple weeks ago at an 11 o'clock kickoff. I don't know. I don't think either of these teams is very good. And the way that if Auburn can start catching some balls, the way that Shaun White was playing last week, he's throwing the ball a lot better. And they're looking good. I'm going to go with Auburn straight up in this one.
All right. Well, Clay, here's your chance to climb out of the cellar if you like the Rebels.
Yeah, so here we go. This is just a chance for me to dig a huge hole, but I'm down now 3 games out of the lead. So, I'm going to go with the Rebels here. I don't know. I just strictly because I have no idea who's going to win this game. And because you guys both pick Auburn, I got to go Ole Miss. Yep. So, you know what? I might be totally out of the running after this week, but oh well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a flip of the coin. I have no clue. Ole Miss, if they play anything like they're capable of with the talent they have, should win the game. But with the way they've looked all year, I think they're just as likely to lose the game as Auburn is to lose it as well. So I just don't see either team having an upper hand right now.
Well, I like when in doubt taking the points, so I'm going to go with the Tigers. All right, so Alec goes first on game number 2.
Game number 2 is South Carolina at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 16-point favorite.
Boy, this is a tough one because Texas A&M has not looked good as of late. They have some major quarterback issues. Kevin Sumlin said he's going to choose between the 3 quarterbacks this Friday on who's going to start that game. So they don't really know what they're going to do. But that's really tough because South Carolina might be one of the worst 3 teams in the SEC this year next to Vanderbilt and Missouri. Texas A&M can put up points if they want to. They're at home. But that's a lot of points. I'm going with South Carolina.
Boy, I hate South Carolina home games now because every time they gain 3 yards, that stupid rooster crows. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's almost like the Jaguar roar. They're both pretty bad.
Yeah, really bad.
Yeah, but we don't play that on the podcast anymore.
Meow, meow, meow.
Yeah.
Oh, your mother's not going to like that. That was her favorite.
How about, do we have the elephant noise drop?
No, we need to get that.
Oh yeah,
now, I forgot. Yeah, that was big news. Alabama
new sound effect.
Yeah, now plays elephant noises in the stadium. And Case's response was, "Is it Jagaloon or About Time? I lean with the latter." So yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. Yeah, it's kind of in the middle of that because it's a little Jagaloon.
You're up.
Oh, is it me though?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Right.
You're the middleman.
I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention at all.
That's okay.
Well, now since I have to fill out this stupid sheet because we're having to keep it on paper. It's not on paper. It's on Google Sheets. But still, God, I'm sorry. I'm having to do extra work here, and it's not my favorite thing. I don't like extra work. I don't think South Carolina's that good. I don't think Texas A&M's that good. I don't think anybody's that good. But I'm gonna go with Texas A&M here.
Damn.
I
probably should.
I have to agree. I think they're going to be in a pretty foul humor after going on the road and looking so poor. And this is the first time that South Carolina has taken their show on the road since Spurrier bailed. And I really don't expect much of an effort from the Gamecocks. I really don't know what they have other than Pharaoh Cooper. I think their defense is poor. They might hang in for a while, but at the end of the day, I think Texas A&M gets enough traction to score enough late to cover this spread. So I'm taking the Aggies and giving the points, despite the fact that I don't like surrendering more than 2 touchdowns, but I'm doing it anyway.
The Gamecocks are coming off a bye week, though, so that's one thing you can think about, too, that they've had 2 weeks to prepare for the offense that someone's going to throw out there. I do agree that South Carolina's terrible, and Texas A&M should be able to score a lot of points, but the way Texas A&M's looked, it's tough. That's why I still got to go with South Carolina. It's too many points.
Alrighty.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to go on to the next game. So you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh, okay. I thought you had something to add. Anyway, okay. Well, the next game is definitely the game of the week, the CBS game, as it always is, pretty much. Georgia at Florida. It's a neutral site, obviously, but the Georgia-Florida game, the cocktail party, the battle for the oar.
I can't believe that.
So whoever can get the oar to be able to
steer
steer their canoe towards the SEC championship.
They get so excited about it that they run over after the game and actually grab the oar.
Oh, yeah, man.
Why?
Well, did you like my explanation? You steer your canoe towards Atlanta.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know what waterway Georgia utilizes for the trip back to Athens, but I'm glad they'll have an oar if they can pull this win out. And they haven't had to worry about that too much over the last 25 years.
No, yeah, and Florida is a 3-point favorite according to Yahoo, which we're still using, but I messed it up, so I have to keep track on paper, but we're going to still use Yahoo's lines to keep it consistent.
All right. Well, you get to go first.
And I am first. Whatever. Give me the Bulldogs. I think they're going to play spoiler here, and it'll be pretty funny if they do, because I know Nick will be very upset. So I don't know. I think Florida is a better team when Georgia doesn't have Chubb, but I don't know. But let's go Georgia.
I mean, there really is no reason to pick either one of these teams. So I mean that's a fine reason for me.
Yeah, I would not be shocked, and I have not heard any rumors to this effect, but I would not be shocked if Bryce Ramsey will be the quarterback. I'm not sure that's going to happen. Because Grayson Lambert, officially is no good. He might date Miss Georgia, but it certainly isn't due to his gridiron prowess. So I wouldn't be shocked if they've made a change, and they've also shaken it up a little bit with some new strategic directions. They really didn't have a lot of time to adjust before the Missouri game to Nick Chubb being out, but now with 2 weeks to prepare, hopefully Schottenheimer and Richt have come up with a few new angles. Florida, I've maintained, and just like you guys with Auburn, I have some anti-Florida bias. I will be man enough to admit it. But I still, from a strictly an analyst position, think that this team, other than the resounding win over Ole Miss, has been pretty ordinary. I mean, they with 6 minutes to go, I keep pointing out that in the Tennessee game, they trailed 27-14. Tennessee tried to run the clock out, and Florida made a couple of great plays, and all of a sudden the perception of those two teams are totally reversed. So I'm still not really sold on Florida, and I'm really not sold on Trayon Harris. Maybe it's a homer pick for me, but I've got to take the Dogs, and I'm taking the 3. And hopefully Mark Richt will get the monkey somewhat off his back and get a big win here, because another loss, and boy, the Wolves will be howling again. And I think Richt is bulletproof, but I'm tired of hearing about it. I'd rather Georgia be basking in the sunlight instead of cowering in the corner.
Well, yeah, when Brent Musburger said for all those young kids to get out and start throwing the pigskin around with their dads or whatever, because the quarterbacks get all the good-looking girls. He was not talking about Grayson Lambert. I don't know how the hell he got such a good-looking girl, because he can't throw her shit.
But just that he is the quarterback. That's all it takes.
He needs to be riding the bench. So then what? She's going to be dating a backup. She can do better. She can do much better than that.
The week after he had the 23 out of 25 game, he got interviewed a bunch, and he was really seeing that his helmet for the first time. And even all the let's see, how can I say this gracefully? Even all the gals my age in the Close to 6 Decades Club, all were just swooning about, oh my God, he's Grayson Lambert. So give me a break.
I mean, I'd be doing the same if he could actually complete a pass. I mean, he's terrible. He hasn't looked good at all, except for that one game where he missed one completion against, is it South Carolina or Vanderbilt?
South Carolina. Yeah.
I don't know. He hasn't looked good, but he's looked good.
Hey.
Yeah, exactly. And he had a real good game against the Southern Jaguars also.
Yeah, so he is a big worrisome problem for me if you're a Georgia fan, and no, I don't even think if they start Ramsey in this game that they're going to be in much better shape. I think that if they would have started the season with Ramsey, they'd be in better shape, because he could have turned out to be better. But he hasn't looked good when he's come in either. So they might even go down to the third string and to Tone Balta. But I mean, that's what concerns me. If they had Chubb, I think they win this game. but only having one or two running backs that are going to be able to give them a good workload, and the way that, I mean, they can't throw the ball right now. I have no confidence that any of their quarterbacks are going to be able to go out there and throw the ball and rack up a lot of yards to win this game. So Florida's the better team. They proved to me a couple weeks ago that they can compete with a top-ranked team on the road, and Georgia hasn't proven that they can do that right now. So I'm going to stick with the Gators. I think they're going to pull this one out.
All right. 2 Georgias and 1 Florida at the cocktail party.
Right, and just one more thing to add, in case you wanted to hear some random bits of information. Just because we were talking about what's his name's attractive girlfriend, I decided to go look up and see if Joe Cox had an attractive girlfriend.
I saw it on his computer, and
I couldn't find if he has an attractive girlfriend or not. However, Joe Cox, a pretty successful man. He went to coach high school football after he graduated. He was a quarterbacks coach for some high school. They won the state championship. He got a promotion up to offensive coordinator. They won their 2nd championship in a row, and now he has just been hired by Mike Bobo to be an assistant at Colorado State.
That's pretty cool.
So
how about that?
Joe Cox, not a good quarterback, but he knows football.
Well, when Nick Saban leaves or Mark Richt leaves, he'll be the first one that they call.
That's
hopefully.
right. So, in like 10 years or so, it's going to be like, new Georgia head coach, Joe Cox.
Oh, my
Joe
goodness.
Cox. Right,
one of the worst quarterbacks ever for the Georgia Bulldogs.
It might be sooner than that. We're not even out of October yet, and there's already 7 head coaching openings.
Yep.
Miami and Central Florida both cannon their coaches this week, so
lots
of jobs out there. But a Joe Cox update. You never know what you're going to hear here on the Kipperspective podcast.
That's right.
Kip, I actually wanted to get your opinion on the Miami head coaching position, because there's been a lot of talk about it the last week or so, about is it still a good job for people to have, and all the fans and people former players are living in the past, and they don't get fans to the game. I mean, do you think that if a head coach with that opening would want that job?
Well, I mean, you hit on a couple of the points. I mean, facility-wise, the Miami football facilities, from what I understand, are as bad as any major university in the country. The field, the stadium they play their home games is 39 miles from the campus. Yep. That's kind of a bizarre wrinkle. So those 2 things right there. I mean, imagine bringing recruits to games. Unless it's Florida State, the stands are half full. You have to get in a bus and ride from Coral Gables up to almost Fort Lauderdale, where Dolphin Stadium is. The atmosphere is just awful. And living in the past, absolutely. All these guys strutting around, when they're doing their introductions of themselves in NFL games, they'll say, they'll go to somebody, Andre Johnson, the U. The U stands for ugly right now. They're just bad. And it's really a shame, a program that had such swagger. It's going to be tough for them to convince, I think, one of these up-and-coming young coaches. Somebody actually mentioned Charlie Strong in an article I read. He's making $5.5 million a year at Texas. Miami was paying Al Golden barely $2 million. I don't think anybody's going to make that move. And besides Charlie Strong, maybe is not as marketable right now, despite his ties to the university. The name of, if you want to go a route of a guy that's been somewhat successful as a college coach and was at Miami, Butch Davis is still not that old a guy and is still in the realm. He's a possibility. Ed Reed, the NFL Hall of Famer, a former Miami player, is kind of lobbying for the job. And also Schiano, who used to be coach at Rutgers and then had a couple of years at Tampa Bay, is another name you hear a bunch. So I think, I don't know which direction to go. I don't think one of these really good young coaches like Babers at Bowling Green or Fuentes at Memphis is going to be that interested in going to Miami. I think, they're in positions to listen to the offers from the South Carolinas and the USCs. So I think Miami's going to have to kind of stand in the back of the line and let some of these real hot prospects go and maybe have to hire somebody that's kind of on the retread, a Butch Davis or a Schiano to see if they can revive the program. But I think they're in a tough spot.
Or a Joe Cox.
Oh, Joe Cox, yeah. I think Joe would take the job.
Yeah. Well, I was listening. The reason this all came up is I was listening to the Dan Le Batard show the other day, and they played a Paul Feinbaum clip, and I don't agree with Paul Feinbaum very often that because he's not very good at analyzing things, but he said that Miami right now just needs to be shut down. It's an absolute joke. And Dan Levitard, of course, Miami for life right now. He's been down there for years doing his stuff with newspaper and radio, and he played the clip, and everybody on his show just absolutely disagreed and thought that Miami was a great job and that coaches would love to come there. And I'm sitting, I don't buy it at all because, like you mentioned, that you got to travel those 40 minutes to an hour to get to your game. The recruits are going to see the empty stadium. Who wants to go play in an empty stadium for a Division I school when you can go to another school and have hundreds of thousands of people watch you, you know? And yeah. I just think that it's a sad situation because if they could get Fuentes or either one of those coaches that racks up the offensive points and the yards, that's kind of what they need to revive their program, in my opinion, because scoring a lot of points like a Baylor or something in the Big 12's been doing is what's going to really get them to get players in there and have some fun and get fans to show up and probably win an ACC championship.
Well, Clayt's always lived by the mantra that he doesn't care about anything that happened before 1992. And I imagine college recruits don't care what happened before, let's just pick a spot around 1995. And there hasn't been much Miami football glory since those golden years under Jimmy Johnson and some of the others. So, living in the past and selling Miami based on what they did in the 1990, national championship race, kind of a tough sell for recruits in such a dilapidated program right now. And so the guys in Miami can fool themselves. That's a great job. But I think the reality of the situation is that, they'll be able to get maybe a name coach, but it's probably going to be somebody whose career is kind of on the outs that needs a chance for redemption, like a Butch Davis or a Schiano is my expectation.
Alrighty, well, moving away from the ACC and Miami, that was interesting, but not what we came here to talk about. The next game up is Tennessee Martin at Arkansas. There is no line on this game, so we're all going Arkansas, I believe, right? Everybody Arkansas.
Big Suey.
Yeah, the Purple Martins, not a small school, and they're not good.
Okay, just making sure. The next game, a very interesting matchup that I was unaware of this week until just now because I am a poor college football follower, is Vanderbilt at Houston. Houston, obviously, not obviously, they are undefeated. They are ranked 18th, and they can score points. So I think, Kip, you're up first. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did they make the number on this game?
Right. I was getting to that. I meant to say that because Houston could score points, but Vanderbilt has a good defense. But Houston is an 11.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty hefty. I expected it to be around 10. Vanderbilt's defense is legitimate. They are a very good defense. Houston's in the American Athletic Conference thing, and they've been rolling right along and played, very well. You saw what Memphis did at home against a bona fide SEC team in Ole Miss. I think Vandy will scrap and keep it close, but I really want to pick the SEC team getting, double-digit points. But the Cougars at home, Derek Mason and the Commodores coming off their first SEC win under his command. Way to go, Derek. But I got to take Houston, and I'm giving the points.
Man, this is a tough game because, like y'all said, Houston can score a lot of points, but Vanderbilt's defense is legit. They've been playing really, really well, and I mean, you look at the game they played at Ole Miss. They were able to keep that game under 10 points or around 10 points. So this is a tough situation. I do think that Houston is a much better team. They're undefeated. They can score a lot of points. They haven't really proven themselves against a great team yet. But Vanderbilt, I just don't know how many points they're going to be able to score. Their offense is still struggling a lot, and I think their defense will keep it close for a while. But as fast-paced and as much as this Houston offense can move the ball, I think they're going to get worn out by the end of the game, and I think that Houston gets a late cover.
Man, you guys put the pressure on me because now that makes me want to pick Vanderbilt, but that's tough. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go Houston as well, but here's something that's interesting, and I'll play the noise in just a second because I think Alec is waiting for it. there's a good chance, unless Vanderbilt can do something about that, or a couple other teams or whatever. But there's a good chance that Houston and Memphis are going to be both undefeated, playing against each other in a couple weeks, and that's a pretty monumental AAC matchup or whatever. So just something cool and just to look out for. Navy, Tulane, Vanderbilt, and Cincinnati all could ruin that, but none of those teams are exactly high powered.
Cincinnati is the only team in that list that's legitimate enough to even threaten. If you looked at the schedule, where is the Houston-Memphis game?
It's at Houston.
Okay, that gives the Cougars a little bit of an advantage over the Tigers, but that is a great matchup to put on our list right alongside of Toledo and Bowling Green.
Yeah, the AAC is doing pretty good this year so far, so that is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, Houston's biggest win is probably at Louisville in Week 2. They won 34-31. It was a close game, but Louisville looked decent against a bad Auburn team, so maybe Louisville's bad.
I mean, who would ever thought that Memphis would have a pretty tough schedule playing in the AAC? They go back-to-back weeks at Houston and at Temple.
Oh, yeah, there you
Wow.
go.
I think if Memphis runs the table, give them a spot in the Final Four.
How much would you guys have wagered that College Game Day would not be at a Temple home game during the course of the 2015 season? That's where they're going to be this week, outside of Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, site of the Notre Dame Temple game. How about them Owls?
I brought this up the other day, and it's exciting. I'm happy for Temple and their university and the fact that they get to experience this. I know they're going to be crazy, and it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. But back-to-back weeks, last week you have College Game Day, a Division II game, and this week you have them going to Temple. Do we seriously, what's going on with the scheduling that in the middle of the football season, those are the games that College Game Day is doing? That just absolutely blows my mind. And that goes back to Ole Miss having 2 non-conference games in a row a couple weeks ago. It's the middle of the football season. I don't understand where all the good football's at.
Well, maybe
I wonder how they'll manage to not come to T-Town next week. You would think that's an absolute must.
Yeah,
I would assume so. But I was going to say maybe they've realized that, all the big schools that have had multiple game day visits, everybody realizes that it sucks and that it's not fun at all. So maybe they just want to go. They just want to go to the small schools where they haven't actually realized yet. So Temple fans, go have fun, but then don't, because you're going to realize, this is not very fun at all.
Well, I'm telling you, last week at James Madison was the craziest environment I've ever seen, because even on Friday for College Football Live with Desmond and David Pollock and Ponder, the crowd was bigger than any regular college game day crowd. They were lined up for, forever.
What I said jokingly, but at the same time, all these, it's kind of the opposite, really, that, there's just a lot more excitement at these places that have never had College Game Day come, rather than, we just think it sucks. It's more that, these people are like, oh my gosh, we're actually on the national scene. That's so cool.
Yep.
And I don't know, that is pretty cool.
Literally, the entire student body at James Madison was at game day.
There's no doubt. It was insane.
But yeah, this, I actually, I don't think I mentioned it on the podcast, but I told Alec this when the news first came out. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Temple home games hardly ever sell out, and this one sold out 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, it's a big deal for Temple. So, good for them, I guess. I hope they beat Notre Dame. I don't like Notre Dame.
Okay, well, let's get back to the picks. We're
we're getting on some rambles here, but
that's okay. Well, that's the nature of the game here.
This is
what
the
makes
final,
our podcast better. We're not scripted.
Right. Final game of the week is Tennessee at Kentucky.
Uh-oh.
My God.
Am I up in this one?
I believe so.
Ugh,
Yep.
Crap. Who are you going to pick, Clayton? That's what I need to know.
Oh, wait, hey, first of all, actually, hold on. Hey, we forgot something.
Oh, yeah.
The sweep. Yeah, the sweep. That's right.
That was for the Houston game.
Come on, man.
Well, I told you I would get to it. I just had something to say. I forgot what it was now already, but...
Well, Tennessee, they're getting a little confidence. They beat Georgia. They played really, really tough on the road against Alabama. I just said really, really for the third time this podcast, and it's annoying myself, too. Don't worry. But yeah,
Alex's favorite song is "I Really Like You" by Carly Rae Jepsen.
Oh, we won't go that far.
I really, 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 really like you.
That was probably better than you.
Hey, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, actually.
I thought you were playing a cut from the CD.
Hey, the other thing is I can throw a pitch better than Carly Rae Jepsen too.
Oh, God, at the Rays game too. That was bad.
Wide-ranging on the Kipperspective podcast.
It's going to turn into a baseball podcast now. World Series tonight.
Yeah, Game 2
go
last
Royals.
night. 14 innings.
Yeah, that was the first game of the World Series. That's pretty impressive.
I don't even know who won. That's how much I keep
Longest one
up with
Kansas,
baseball.
I think Kansas City won in like the 15th or for the 14th
Oh,
inning.
yeah. I'm definitely rooting for Kansas City, even though I really could care less. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, back to Tennessee.
Nobody wants
Kentucky.
the Mets to win. Give me a break.
No, I just New York teams just no thanks. But yeah, Tennessee getting a little bit more confidence. Butch Jones, you can tell, is excited with his team. Got his team playing hard and with a lot of effort, and almost upset Alabama and Bryant Denny on Saturday, which I had a feeling that could happen. Even though I picked Alabama in that game, I had a feeling that Tennessee was going to be chippy and play hard, and they might let their guard down a little bit against Kentucky this week. 8.5 on the road. That's a really tough one. But after seeing Kentucky recently, I got to go with Tennessee. I just can't pick the Wildcats. I can't bring myself to do it.
Coughing up the 8.5. Clayton, you're next.
Oh,
God, that's tough.
well, it would be nice and just let you have a win by picking Kentucky, but I'm not doing that. I'm going Tennessee.
Well, damn, now I would have picked Kentucky.
So who, you took Tennessee?
Yeah,
Yes.
Tennessee so far.
All right. Well, I don't think Tennessee is going to be quite as inspired for Kentucky as they were at Bryant Denny last week. Second week in a row on the road. Kentucky at home has been pretty good about hanging in with teams. My first reflex is to take Kentucky and the points, but they are really, at this time of the year, this when their depth really shows up, and they just get worse and worse every week. But still at home, I've got to be a contrarian here. Put me down for the Cats. Go Big Blue. I'll take the 8.5.
Well, yeah, and Dak Prescott ran for over 100 and threw for over almost 350 yards. So if Dak Prescott had that much success, then I think that Dobson's going to be able to go out there and run the ball with some success against them as well. So that doesn't bode well, because that's all they're going to do is run the ball with him on 3rd and 15 and get a first down.
Well, like I say, generally on Kentucky games, I found that if I go the opposite direction that Clayton goes, I'm usually successful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Clayton, Kentucky, just not on the same page. So go Big Blue.
Gross.
Ugh. Can we end the podcast now?
Yes, I think we can. Final thoughts going into the week. You guys are free to roam the countryside with your bye week. Your fall break, so don't get in any major trouble. What are you guys looking forward to most this weekend?
Well,
and it doesn't have to be SEC related.
Clayton will be looking forward to the fact that he can sit in his chair all weekend and kick back and watch several different games and be on his computer at the same time. So I know he's extremely excited with no home game. I will be traveling to Nashville and possibly Auburn this weekend. So I will be doing a lot.
God, I was unaware of the second part of that
yeah,
trip.
I waited.
Disgusting.
I waited for the podcast to mention that for him.
What the hell?
Because we know that place has good luck for me. So I'm going to cheer on the Tigers, man, so Alabama can go to the SEC championship.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching the Super Bowl of thoroughbred racing, the Breeders' Cup. American Pharoah, the Triple Crown winner, making his final start in the $5 million Breeders' Cup Classic Saturday night. That should be a pretty good highlight to a football weekend. I already know the Georgia-Florida result, so if Georgia loses and American Pharoah gets beat, I will be depressed, but we'll deal with that. I've got medication, so nobody worry.
All right, well, hey, one other thing. This is interesting, just a strange fact. Bowling Green is done playing on Saturday this year.
That's it. No more Saturday. No more football Saturdays.
So we got a Wednesday, Tuesday.
That's awesome.
Lineup. Well, not really, because maybe we can get a TV down here. That'd be awesome. But they play while we record the podcast the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have to have live updates.
We may have to adjust and do it slightly earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. That's pretty disappointing.
What three other teams besides Toledo are on the schedule?
Ohio, Western Michigan, and Ball State.
Oh, boy, that doesn't sound too like Murderers Row.
No, yeah, it is at Western Michigan and at Ball State, but I'm pretty confident after they went into Kent State and won 48-0. So
Wow, they really got it going on. I don't know anything about the Ohio Bobcats, but they're at home before that packed crowd at Bowling Green. So if one of you hosers is listening up in Northeast Ohio, where the people are of the highest quality in the land, according to LeBron James, get out there and support your Falcons. They're awesome.
Yeah, and they definitely are. They're probably all out there supporting the stupid Rockets.
Yeah, Toledo. Better. So the Kipperspective podcast, Kip, Clayt, Alec are calling Northeast Ohioans out. Get out there and support the Falcons. They are just on a roll. This is a very good football team. And the next time I see a highlight in the stadium's about a third full, I'm gonna have to publicly admonish people that live up there and rebuke LeBron James for being a blowhard phony.
A third would be like a record setting. The last time I watched their game, it looked like there was about 200 people there. I think the stadium seats somewhere like 40,000. So a third would be amazing.
There's more than that at the Camellia Bowl.
Oh yeah, the Camellia Bowl. Well, yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. That hopefully they'll get a little bit better assignment this year than playing South Alabama, who I suspect probably came up to Montgomery on school buses. But that's another subject. Anyway, that's about all the time we have, fellas. If you got any final thoughts, speak now or hold your peace till next Wednesday.
I think we're good. I just know that if Bowling Green's bowl game is anywhere down here, we might have to be doing another
on the road
extended on the road segment.
Oh, I think that would be great. All right, so one final promo. Do not miss it next week. Our regular time Kipperspective podcast. I can always say Kipperspective.
Me and Clayt looked at each other like the Kipperspector.
Podcast.
You did that last week. That was our intro last week. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Kipperspector.
I know. I just get tongue-tied like Elmer Fudd. I just had another birthday. My condition is the same as Clayt's fantasy football team in our league. I'm old balls. But anyway, we'll be back with you again next week. And then our special program next Saturday, we'll have details on Wednesday about how you can access the LSU Tailgate podcast down in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be amazing and something that you certainly do not want to miss. Kip Kiefer for Alec Etheridge for Clayt Kiefer. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you again next week on the Kipperspective SEC podcast. I'm going to get it out perfectly one of these times. Have a great week, everybody. Everybody.